Heyo, you're tuning into Toasted Reddit, where I could tell you some Reddit stories. Right now we've got Malicious Compliance, where a company would rather you get paid for not working than pay you for you working. That makes sense, right? Our first story is by Petite Peach Pep. This happened last year. I was 1 week away from my due date and was working full-time in a school administration position. At this time, I had the capability to work from home if needed, example, too sick to come into work, catch up on extra work, unable to secure daycare for my child, etc. When I accepted the position prior to my pregnancy, I was told by my boss, let us call her Ronnie, that it was very flexible as long as I got my hours in. I very rarely worked from home and typically only did so for an hour or two in the morning, if it was needed later on in order to work before OBGY appointments, as it was a long commute between work and home and or the doctor's office. However, I was told by Ronnie after accepting the position to try and limit work from home to 2 days a month, which was fine. At this point, I was well under since I was only working an hour or two, maybe twice a month, and only once a month before that. Being so close to my due date, I was experiencing physical hardships that made working on site more and more difficult, such as dizzy spells, a pulled tendon in my foot, and severe back pain. I was also scared of potentially going into labor while at work with it being so far away from the hospital that my OBGY delivers at. To top it all off, my coworkers started asking more and more invasive questions about my pregnancy that made me uncomfortable. All in all, it was not a fun time. I explained all of this in an email to Ronnie and asked for her permission to almost exclusively work from home up until I go into labor. I said that I thought it would be a reasonable accommodation and I work really well from home. Ronnie responded a couple days later, denying my request to work from home at all and said I needed to be there since we would be starting some of our busiest work in a couple of months, which I would be gone for on maternity leave anyway, so I'm not sure why she brought it up. But I could talk about HR about leave options if I'm truly having trouble working. By the way, it is illegal in my state to require an employee to take leave if there is a reasonable accommodation that can be made instead. Cue malicious compliance. I immediately went to HR and did just that. We talked about options and found out that I could start my leave the very next day and still be paid state mandatory leave pay for the extra time. I informed Ronnie that I would be out starting the next day as I needed to take care of myself. She said, I understand you need to do what is best for you, but you need to understand that I need to do what is best for our team. So yeah, everything I normally manage basically went to the toilet in my absence as the other people on my team weren't qualified to do the work and kept taking time off leading up to my due date instead of learning the basics while I was still there to teach them. I left detailed procedure notes and workflow lists, but I later found out that Ronnie had to pick up on all the extra work and a lot of it never got done since she didn't have time. But it was best for the team, right, boss? And then a commenter says exactly what I was actually about to say. I need to do what is best for the team. And apparently it is better to not have you work at all than to have you work from home. Management can be so effing stupid. I have never ever understood this. It applies to all kinds of temporary impairments, not just pregnancy. When a chemically sensitive employee was denied remote work the day after the carpet was to be shampooed. When an employee uses crutches was denied a teaching schedule with rooms near one another for 3 weeks. Or when a pregnant employee wants to bring in a personal recliner chair to elevate her feet periodically. And they're all told to take sick leave instead. Like, the company or the students don't deserve the high quality work of those employees. And of course, the employer would be screwed if they all actually did take leave. And you know the employee gets a guilt trip for taking out an extended amount of time and causing others to pick up their work. And let me know what you guys are thinking. Why would a company rather you not work from home? But why would a company rather you just not work at all instead of, working from home? Why would a company rather you do no work than some work? That, to me, doesn't make sense. But, yeah, let me know what you guys are thinking about that down below. Anywho, and now the next story comes from Kitty Magoo. This happened 3 years ago. Back in my old job, I used to work in a call center as an agent. My very first time working in a call center. Our company valued and monitored call time, so we were told to handle calls quickly, around 3 to 5 minutes per call, so we could assist more customers. After my training and nesting, they introduced me to the production floor. And early on, I noticed an easy way to handle calls fast. I would read the disclaimers and fine print, but the customers would just always brush me off or make me skip it or just not really care at all. So I decided to provide them an option to listen to me or just skip it entirely. I did that, and in my first month working in the production floor, I was praised for only having 3 to 4 minutes average call time and handling 60 to 70 customers per day. I kept on doing this method for 2 more months. On my 4th month, there was a sudden change to the policy that told us to always read the disclaimers or fine print to the customers, even though they don't want to listen to it. That meant our call time would easily double, but since I already asked my customers if they want me to read the disclaimers to them or not, I just kept on doing it my way. At my next monthly review, I was called up by quality assurance and my team leader regarding my calls, where they told me to not skip or omit the disclaimers. I tried to argue with them that I give my customers the option to listen to the disclaimer or not, and I even read the disclaimers to the customers if they wanted to change something on their account or if the changes would charge their account, even if they don't want to listen to the disclaimer. But they were adamant on following the new policies. Cue malicious compliance. I talked with everyone who was also given a warning to follow the new policies and told them to just comply with the new policy, even if it costs us our call time and customer feedback. By this point, our average call time was already reaching 8 to 15 minutes since we had to double check the customer's account and their information, confirm every action we were going to take, read out paragraphs of disclaimers, there could be 2 or more disclaimers in a single call, as well as documenting the call. This doesn't include calls where we have to get multiple people or departments involved. Due to the unsolicited reading of the disclaimers, more and more people were starting to get irate during calls. Our company's rating went down significantly when we received negative feedback as well as complaints from customers regarding the employees and the service. I think this cost our company some money because many people at our office were laid off. Around this time, I found a better company with better pay, so I left. Yeesh, man, imagine being on a phone call. Imagine calling this company one time and then it goes from 3 to 4 minutes of a phone call to all of a sudden being 8 to 15 minutes. That is too. Oh, and then imagine having to listen to a disclaimer twice. Oh my goodness. Reading out disclaimers is already annoying, but then having to listen to that stuff twice, that's annoying. But let us continue on with the comments. I mean, I get why you did not always read the disclaimer, but it is there to prevent a lawsuit. While time-consuming, it is very serious, especially if your center is responsible for any personal information. They should be playing a pre-recorded, unskippable message of the disclaimers before it gets to an agent. Oh my gosh, this comment just opened my eyes as to why I always have to sit through the disclaimers before getting to call to someone. My boomer trait is hating having to sit through that. Pretty sure every generation has that hatred. As an older millennial, I agree. I was born in '83, and I've heard us referred to as geriatric millennials. Geriatric. Also 83. I mean, my fiance's niece thinks I was born with the dinosaurs and saw the creation of civilization. Well, back in the 1900s. But yeah, enough about that comment section. I do have to say, yeah, they should have a pre-recorded unskippable message because then the fault of the disclaimer having to be read out doesn't fall on the client, or doesn't fall on the agent shoulders for it being a nuisance to the customer. And it also covers the lawsuit portion. Like, I don't know why they had the agents do it by themselves when they could have. Actually, they should have had a pre-recorded message because that would save time for the workers to be getting through a call. That would also save on costs, and that would up the calls that would go through. So I don't know why they wouldn't have an unskippable message that is pre-recorded, because that is just smart on top of smart on top of smart. I don't know, this company getting all these bad ratings and falling down was kind of pre-recorded if you ask me, because they're being a bit stupid with their moves. But yeah, let us continue on. Now, before we continue on, I just want to ask that if you are enjoying this so far, that you consider recommending this channel to friends and family, or just people you know, because the help for this channel is greatly appreciated. So, to continue on, and now for the final story, which comes from 37-year-old Throwaway. 2 years ago, after putting hardwood in our foyer and dining room, we decided on a particular baseboard that Lowe's carried in Pro Packs. These packs come with 6 12-inch boards that I believe costed around $180 each. We purchased 2 packs knowing that one wasn't enough, but we should have 4 boards left over which we could then return. Due to a few miscuts, first time DIYing floors, we ended up having 3 full boards to return, which I lugged back with my receipt. I brought them to the return area and the lady who helped me was very unpleasant. As she took my receipt, I explained that these were 3 boards from one of the Pro Packs on the receipt, and that the refund should be half of the cost of one, which is what the person who sold me the packs originally told me would happen. She asked me if I bought one of the boards on another receipt, and I repeated that all 3 boards were part of a pack, that there were no other receipt, and that the refund should only be half of one of the listed items. She said back to me, verbatim, "Don't tell me how to do my job," and then walked back in the area to talk to another lady also working returns. 2 minutes later, she came back and asked for my credit card. After putting a refund for $360 on my card, she also gave me a Lowe's store gift card with $180 on it because I didn't have the receipt for the 3rd board I was returning. I was going to mention that I should have only gotten a $90 refund on my card and no gift card, but I didn't want to tell her how to do her job. So I left. Went back a few weeks later and used the gift card for 5 gallons of paint, which we used to paint the same rooms. Well, it is definitely malicious compliance, so there's no fault on you, OP, for doing this. I got no issues with it, with what you did, but at the same time, I can't say I totally blame the girl behind the counter. Like, I would also be a little bit annoyed. I mean, granted, that would also just be my pride talking, but I'd also be a little bit peeved if the customer who I was trying to help was just talking over me and being like, "So this is how you do it. This is what you're supposed to do. This is, just talking over me." I'd be a little bit peeved also, but I'm also guessing that maybe the Pro Packs were just like a one-time, or like maybe like a deal or something, because I don't know why she would ask for a receipt for the 3rd board. I'm assuming that whole entire Pro Pack thing was maybe just a one-time thing, maybe? I have no idea, but yeah, this was definitely a mistake on her end. She let that pride be a little bit too there, just too much pride there for her to realize that OP was just trying to help. But let's continue on with the comments. I once bought a kitchen range from Lowe's with a pigtail for the kind of outlet I thought my old range was connected to. Turned out I was wrong and didn't need the pigtail. The delivery guy said he'd take it back and return it for me. Next thing I know, I look at my credit card statement and they've refunded me for the whole range. I went to the store to try and straighten it out, but everyone just got confused and ended up telling me that there was no mistake. Shrug. Okay, if you say so. And then we get a story about socks. I found a company online that had good socks. I'm a big guy, so finding socks that are just right is not easy. I ordered some with the understanding that I could exchange them, which I did for the next size up. I got the new socks, which were perfect, but then I also got a refund as well. I have emailed them 3 times insisting that I was not due a refund, but they haven't reversed it. I definitely plan on ordering more in the future, and hopefully then they'll keep my money. Man, a company is so good that they actually just like giving out money, apparently. That is a joke, but at the same time, I think it would just be better for customers. Like, if they made a mistake by giving you money, I think it would create a more returning customer if they were just like, "No, you know what, you keep the money." But, I mean, hey, that is also probably just bad business at that rate. But, I mean, what do I know? I don't know no business, so I'm just talking out of my A at this rate. But, anywho, let me know your thinking down below. But that is just about it for this story. Now, before I end this off, I'm gonna just let you know about my podcast, where I post the same old stuff just in a form where you can listen to while going to bed, doing homework, or just something to listen to while working. But whatever the occasion, it'll be there. But enough of that. That is just about it for those stories today. And if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe to become a fellow bread bag. Though, aside from that, I post 2 new videos every day on YouTube, so I hope to see you next time toasting session. But until then, have a good one.